So in this video we are basically going to talk about the project management. So in the project management we will talk about what is project management, and why do we require, and what are the ways that we could do that project management in a better way. That is what we are going to see. So as you all know that what a project is all about. So a project could be it could be any sequence. I mean, like, it could be an IPO operation, as I said in the last session. So you will have get some inputs, and you will have to do all those in a sequence of activities, and you will reach one goal which that has to be completed, but that has to be completed within a scheduled time and a budget, and also according to the specification the client requires. And project management is actually the process of scoping. I mean, like, completely um, understanding that what all scalability can happen for your project, and what are the planning required, and the staffing, the organizing, directing it in the right path, and controlling it when it, say, if at one particular stage, if the cost is exceeding, then you need to restrict it, or if it is already exceeded, then you have to adjust it. So all those things has to be done within a specified time frame, right? So that is nothing but project management. Now when you look at the various success measures of the project, we should have a resulting information system that satisfies the customer needs, and the system has to be delivered on time, and it has to be within the budget, and the development process has to have a minimal impact on the ongoing business operations. Now when you look at the various causes of the failure, it is because that it is not able to identify, it has not, the right requirements has not been identified, the project may fail. And it is that the user involvement is very limited, that the project may fail. Or lack of executive support, technical support, poor project planning, very unclear objectives, lack of required resources, and people management skills are not sufficient. So in all these cases there is a higher chance that the project failure can occur. Now what could we do? So what are the major project management functions that has to be kept in mind? So as we have already seen, project management is like, you have to take care of scoping and controlling and everything. So how can you do that? So first one is scoping. So as you know that you have to set the boundaries of your project, like what is the expectations, what could be the set of the deliverables. There could be a lot of scalability options. Your project or the product will be very much scalable, but you need to identify to what extent you could do within the budget which is there and the deadlines which is there given to you. Then comes the planning. So in the planning you need to have idea about clear tasks. Then estimating the cost required for the project, and the time, the people, the efforts, and the dependencies of your project and interdependencies of your project, everything has to be identified very clearly. So they are basically called as predecessors. And scheduling is there. In scheduling, you need to schedule your project. What are the task requirements, the duration for each one, what are the prerequisites. And then comes organizing. So make sure that the members understand their roles and responsibilities. And directing, coordinating the project, like coordinating, motivating, if there is anything issues, they have to come up and advise, give some decision support for the project. And some thing has been delivered incredibly well, then you have to give additional appraisal awards or something like that. Then comes controlling. In controlling, you are actually monitoring the process against the goals and the schedule and the cost. And you have this closing, where you will assess the success, the failure of the entire project, right? So all these things are the major project management functions, if you could say. And now there are various project management tools available. So the latest tools are the agile technologies, which you could see, and the Jira, Trello. There are different type of beautiful tools available, but still we learn about Microsoft project, because that is the easiest one, and that is the most commonly used tool which is there. And there are other project management tools, like the project evaluation review technique tool, which will help you to correctly identify the interdependencies between the project tasks. And the Gantt chart will help you to identify the timeline that is actually required for the project. So it will give you, so this is what actually we are going to do, and we will do that with the help of the MS project. And the task identification, so all these things we have to do initially itself. Say when you look at here, you could see that there should be for the project planning, you have defined the problem, produce a project schedule, confirm project feasibility. But your task is also to, say in defining the problem, meet with users, determine the scope. So so these are all the subtasks which comes under this define the problem. So it is nothing but the work breakdown structure. So by looking at this work breakdown structure, you will be able to correctly identify and the hierarchy of your complete set of projects. So each phase and its sub phases could be identified, right? And the milestone is nothing but it simply signifies whether the project is actually will be completed on time and what all are the milestone it has to complete. Now comes the project estimation. So how could you actually estimate the duration for a particular project? So say nobody is actually Superman or Batman or whoever it is, because if you have 100%, you will have certain distractions, or you require some break in between, which will help you to be more productive in a way, right? So interruptions could be a phone call, or maybe it could be some chit chat, or it could be some visitors. So 10 to 50% it is called as it is considered to be a person can have interruptions. So we could just see one small example. A task can be completed in 20 hours with efficiency of 100% and without interruptions, assuming a project member efficiency is 80%, but here the efficiency is 80% and interruptions is 25% estimate. So this is how you will do it. So 20 hours, and you are you will be effective for 80, so 0.8 divided by 1 minus 0.25 is so you will get 0.75, right? So whatever you get here, so 24 hours by 0.75, because 0.75 is nothing but the efficiency, because interruptions, you had some interruptions of 25. So by 0.75, so is nothing but 33. So you can complete this particular task with 33.33 hours, right? So just to have a little bit more example, say in 10 hours with 100% efficiency and no interruptions, but you have worker with 75% and 50% interaction. So what will happen is that 10 hours, it's actually divided by 10 hours plus 0.75 efficiency. It's not plus, it is divided by. So let's correct it now itself. So we will correct it to divided by 0.75, right? So whatever we get out from there, what we need to do is that so it's 15, so 100 minus 15, so 1 minus 15, so you will get almost 15.678 or 15.7 estimated hours for completing the task. Now the task duration estimates. So the task duration estimates are basically you could see it in different ways. I mean, like, it's all estimates, so it's not like proper. So you can go for a optimistic duration, like the minimum amount of the time that it would take. Okay, you could take like that. Or pessimistic, I mean, like, there could be a lot of issues, so what would be the maximum amount of time that would be required to complete. And the another way is expected time, that is what is a normal thing which has happened over the years. So you can actually you have another formula where this 1 into OD plus 4 into ED plus 1 into PD. Say if you are given with these three values, then you can actually utilize this formula. In this 1, 4 and this 1 are actually the default weights which is actually given. So it is actually part of your formula. You have to simply give the values for OD, ED and PD. So this is another way of actually estimating the number of the days which is required. So there are different ways to do that. And then the other thing is that even though you have identified the task and identify the the number of the hours that is required, you need to also know the dependencies, right? So the finish the start. So finish of one task triggers the start of another task. Then start to start is there, that is start of one task actually triggers the start of another task. Finish to finish, two tasks must finish at the same time. Start to finish, it is start of one task signifies the finishing of another task. So all these things are the different dependencies. So this will give you a clear understanding about the interdependencies of the task which you have already identified. So you have all this task dependencies. So in the task information basically you can actually give, so you will see all this. So in the task information you can actually give whether it is finished a task or whatever it is. So each task you can actually take, say you are taking one particular task, and when you take the task information you can specify whether it is finished to task or first to task or whatever it is. And then resources. So resources are nothing but could be people, it could be services, it could be facilities or materials which is required, the money, supplies and materials, it could be anything. So resources means it could be any resources which is associated with the project. So any resources which is associated with the project could be assigned. So they has to be assigned and they has to be a resource name and the group and the maximum unit standard rate, everything has to be given. And say if you have a material you need to clearly give like what should be the material size and the name, and everything has to be identified. And prorated it could be, or it could be standard. So there are different ways of options which are already there for you to identify. When you do the MS project you will understand, you will see all this in detail. So when you go through that you will be able to understand. So here just understand that you have your project sponsor, executive member, all these people are actually given here, and the group is also, group can be actually given here, and the maximum units and the rate for them per hour, maybe in euros and BD, everything could be given in detail, right? So say if you require any overrate, what is the budget that you have actually applied for the overrated budget. So this is how your resources will look like. So you will have to assign your resources. Once you assign your resources to each and every people associated with it, you have to assign it. So say for analyze the current system, okay, business analyst has to do it. Okay, maybe update the project plan, the project management representative has to do it. So like that you can actually assign for each and every task who will actually form that particular task that could be allocated. Now at the end of the day you have something called resource leveling. So it's just a strategy to correct, like say you were allocating so much that you have two different managers. One manager is has got a lot of burden, okay, he had got a lot of burden, then you have to somehow reduce the activity, right? So resource leveling will be an ongoing activity because the schedule and the resource assignments are likely to change over the course of the period. So over the course of the period you know that what you have to do, and you will have to understand accordingly, right? So for that there are two different techniques. One is delaying and the other one is task splitting. So what do you mean by task splitting and task delaying? So task splitting is splitting the task into small tasks so that you can actually avoid the delay, and the other one is delaying. So in task splitting you have critical path. So critical path is nothing but the set of the sequential steps in the of dependent task that determines earliest possible completion of the project. So the tasks that are on the critical path cannot be delayed. So that's the main thing which you have to understand. So the path which are there in the critical path cannot be delayed. And the second one is the slack time. So the amount of the delay that can be tolerated between the starting time. Say maybe I have a buffer of 1 day, so even if I change it, it doesn't matter, I will just give a buffer of 1 day. Yeah, so even though my project takes like 21 days to complete, I have a slack time, so that even if it goes to 22 days, it is okay for me. So there could be some task which even if it takes some time, it's okay. So tasks that have slack time can be delayed, okay. It could be delayed because I have a buffer time which is already there. And understanding the critical path and the slack time, it is a main duty of the project manager to do it actually. So how can you actually do the critical path analysis? So you told okay, you need to know about the critical path and you need to know about the schedule, right? So now we need to know that how can you actually do this critical path analysis. So critical path analysis is basically done in order to identify the inter-task dependencies, okay, and you will sum all the durations, and then the path will be actually given to your given, you know, it will be the path with the longest duration will be considered as a critical path. Now let's consider a small example. So in this example, if you could see that, see there is a task A and there is a, say, B, C, D, E is here, F, G, H, I. So these are the tasks which you have actually identified. Now when you start from task A, you can go to the B, then C, then D, and then to the I. This is one path. Now another path is task A, B, C, then I can go to F, H and I, then F, H, G and I, F, I mean like C, E and I. So all these are the various options. So this is exactly what is actually shown here. So you have like A, B, C, D, I. So A, B, C, D, I. So this is one path, right? So when you look at this path, you will be able to clearly identify later. So you have critical milestone, and you know you have critical summary, then critical sub project and critical marked, okay. So these are all the various steps which could be there. So now you know that these are the various paths. So these are the various paths. Now we need to identify the critical path. So how can we identify the critical path? So critical path is basically identified in this way. So in task A requires 3 days, task B requires 2 days, task D requires 7 days, and task 1 requires 5 days, right? So what we will do is that we will simply add all this up together. So 3 plus 2 plus everything, you know, we will add all the path weights, and you understood that this has got the highest one. So because according to you the critical path, right, the path with the longest total duration is called as a critical path. So you understood that this path is the critical path. So A, B, C, D and I, this is the critical path. Now now you understood the critical path. That means that you cannot expect any delays in that particular, in all those tasks which are there in the critical path. Now there could be slack time, right? So that means that you have, you know, 3 plus 2 plus 2, you have 18, 17, 16 and all. So they are not critical paths, so you will have some slack time, okay. So E is on one path that has 1 day lesser than the critical path. This means that if the task E is behind by 1 day, it will not affect your whole schedule, okay. So this is nothing but the calculation of critical path, okay. So that's all about it. So now in this you know, it's a small video which just talks about, you know, the project management and how you can actually come out with the project and document, and how will you add all the task in it, how will you actually identify the subtask, then how will you actually identify the what is that, the various resource persons in that. Then you have to identify the cost, you can auto schedule it, you can identify the various factors associated with it. So resource usage, so if anybody has got over allocation which has happened, then you need to do a resource leveling, so that, you know, the people or, you know, the materials or whatever it is associated with it will not affect. So this is all about this whole thing. And we have also seen about the critical path analysis. So in the critical path analysis, how can we basically do the critical path analysis in a simple way. So we have seen about all this. So hope you understood what it is. So now you can actually pause the video, go home and read, okay, and try to understand what we have said. So once you understood, it's completely fine. Thank you so much. So if you have any questions or anything like that, always get back to me. Thank you so much for this. Thank you so much.